Alright, the next thing I'm going to teach you how to draw is glass, and you may not be able to see the glass while I'm doing the demo, but I'm going to keep showing it. So what I'm going to do first is just draw like a basic outline for my glass. And the easiest way I've found to do this is to give myself a center line. And since you already know how to draw things that are round, this reminds yourself of the Pepsi cup when you do this, right? I can draw the right-hand side of this and bring it down and then around, right? And then you can measure the right-hand side and mark it on the left so that everything is accurate. Sometimes the shoulder doesn't always like to work the way that we think it will. So that should help with that. Well, if you did it with a pencil, it would probably come out a little bit closer. Anyway, what I'm really trying to teach you is how to draw the texture of glass. So for this, I'm going to take the side of my willow, and I'm going to fill my glass in, all the way up with willow. And this is going to work the same as metal works. Metal and glass are drawn basically identical. So when I look at the glass, ooh, like this, and fill it in with my willow really well. Like that. Then I'm going to look at my glass and see where I see any shadows, anything that looks really dark. So I see right down here, sort of a roundish shape like this. Another one up sort of in here. And notice I haven't blended anything yet. I just put my willow down. And as I'm drawing this, you can't see it in the demo, but I'm actually looking at the glass as much as I'm looking at my drawing of the glass. If you can't see what you're drawing, you can't draw it. You can't just do it out of memory. You have to actually watch what it is. So unlike the Pepsi cup, you actually will see the back of the glass, especially if you're drawing something like this. And the more details you put in here, the more highlights and shadows you see, the better. You want to put your highlights and shadows right next to each other. So be mindful of where your shadows are in your glass. You'll see a lot of highlights and shadows right up in the shoulder here. And actually, I see the reflection of the window in this room in the glass as well. And I see lots and lots and lots of highlights and shadows right next to each other like this. And in this area, you're just going to draw whatever it is you see. However many highlights and shadows you see, that's what I want you to draw. If you see your reflection, draw it. And try and get an accurate portrayal of the highlights and shadows that you see. So my windows that I see, kind of like that. Alright, I'm going to clean up the edge just a little. And the bigger you draw this, the easier it's going to be. Especially for areas like up here at the very top of your glass, because you've got lots of highlights and shadows right next to each other. It's really hard to draw really, really tiny highlights. It's a lot easier to draw this a little bit bigger. So what you may want to do is just do either the top half or bottom half in your sketchbook. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to sort of lightly blend what I have, just so that it doesn't have that raw, untouched feel to it. Once I've got that, I'm gonna come in and try to put in some of those highlights that I was talking about. And that's why we want to put down the willow first, so that I end up with really, really, really bright highlights, because that charcoal isn't gonna want to erase out of there. So make sure you keep an eye on your glass as you're doing this. And you want to try and do it all in one sitting. Oh, I see. Highlights through here. If you can see the lights on the ceiling, draw those in like this. And I can actually see the reflection of my paper through here. I still see that shadow in there, so I'm going to redraw that in a little bit. And if your eraser gets dirty, have a spare sheet of paper that you can sort of erase some of the highlights or some of the charcoal off of it, so that your highlights don't end up dirty. Especially down at the bottom, you're going to have those really bright highlights right next to the really dark shadows, the same as we have way up at the top of the glass. Wherever the glass bends a lot, if it changes shape often, that's where you happen to have the most highlights and shadows right next to each other like this. So in the still life that I'm going to give you in a week or two, you're going to have to draw glass. And this is just your practice, so that when you get to a final draft, you'll know what to do. So you don't have to do a final draft of the glass. You're not going to do it like you did with your spheres. You're not going to do that. You're just going to do this in your sketchbook, so that when you get to your still life, you know how to do it. So there, when you're done with it, you can clean up around the edges if you can. And there it is. Should look like glass.